There is something you do every night without realizing it. Before you sleep, before the silence takes over, you review, not the day. You review yourself. You review whether you did enough, whether you were enough, whether you loved enough, whether you were loved enough. And most nights, the answer that rises is not a good one. You lay your head on the pillow and the weight appears, not the weight of the day, the weight of you, of what you didn't say, didn't face, didn't allow to exist. There is a version of you that stands outside the door of sleep, that is never invited in, that waits in the dark hallway night after night. You might not be able to name it, but you feel it. You feel it as a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix, as a hollowness that achievement cannot fill, as a restlessness that persists even when everything seems fine. And that is exactly what we need to talk about before you sleep. Before another night passes with you running from what most needs to be seen. It didn't start now. It started the moment you realized that being who you were bothered someone, maybe in childhood. Maybe when someone you loved pulled away from your truth. Maybe when you said what you felt and the other person's silence said everything. So you learned, not on purpose. No one sits down and decides, I'll hide who I am. You learned the way you learned to breathe in a room with thin air, by adapting, by shrinking, by molding yourself. You learned that silence was safer, that agreeing hurt less, that sleeping was easier than staying awake with yourself. And so a distance began to form, not between you and others, between you and you. Sleep, which was supposed to be the moment of rest, became the moment when everything you pushed away during the day comes back. The thoughts, the doubts, that question you don't want to ask, that truth you don't want to see. You run from sleep, you scroll, you watch something that doesn't matter, you eat without hunger, anything to avoid being alone with what lives inside you. But listen to this. Deepak Chopra wrote something that changes everything if you truly hear it. He said, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, was I myself today, or was I who others needed me to be? And maybe that is exactly what you have been feeling lately. That fracture, that crack between who you are and who you pretend to be. The deepest pain is not what was done to you. It is what you do to yourself to be accepted. It is the silent agreement you make every morning when you look in the mirror and decide, once again, to leave parts of yourself outside. You sacrifice truth for approval, inner silence for noise that distracts, authenticity for acceptance. And at the end of the day, when the noise stops and the mask grows heavy, you feel it. You feel that emptiness, that sense that something is missing, but you can't name what. What is missing is you. Not the version the world applauds, not the version that never shocks anyone, not the version that agrees, that adapts, that makes itself smaller to fit into other people's spaces. You, the whole version, the one who feels with intensity, the one who knows things you can't explain how you know, the one who carries an ancient truth, older than anything you were taught. And the cost of having hidden is that you forgot how to come back. You forgot what it feels like to be whole. You forgot what it feels like to not need permission to exist. You forgot what it feels like to sit in silence without wanting to run. The life you built was placed on a foundation that isn't yours. It was built on what others expected, on what was safe, on what didn't disturb anyone. But a life built on what isn't true cannot hold. It shifts, it cracks. And you feel those cracks as anxiety, as insomnia, as that sensation that you are living someone else's life. Because you are living a life that isn't yours, not fully, not truly. And here, everything changes. Deepak Chopra says something that almost no one takes seriously. He says the moment before sleep is the most powerful moment of your day. Not because you are going to resolve everything before closing your eyes, but because it is the moment when the mind opens, when the defenses drop, when the boundary between the conscious and the unconscious dissolves. What you think in the minutes before sleep plants seeds, Seeds that will grow during the night, in the silence of your body, in the darkness where nothing can be pretended. And most of us plant seeds of doubt, of fear, of self-criticism, of anxiety about tomorrow. You lie down and think, I didn't do enough. I'm not enough. Tomorrow I'll fail again. Tomorrow I have to be better. Tomorrow. And those seeds grow in the dark, not as flowers, as thorns. Thorns you wake up feeling without knowing where they came from. But what if, before sleep, instead of watering what hurts you, you watered what brings you back? What if those minutes before sleep were the most sacred moment of your day? Not the moment you run, but the moment you return. Returning is not easy at first. It is uncomfortable. It is painful. Because when you stop running, everything you were running from appears. The emotions you pushed down, the truths you silenced, the parts of you that were left in the dark hallway, night after night, waiting to be invited in. But this pain is different. The pain of running is a pain that never ends, because you have to run again tomorrow, and the day after, and always. The pain of returning is a pain that ends, because when you finally look at what you were avoiding, it loses the power it held over you. Fear grows in the dark. In the light, it reveals itself to be smaller than you imagined. So let me tell you what Deepak Chopra proposes, not as a formula, not as a technique, but as an invitation. Before sleep, ask yourself 3 questions, not with the anxious mind that wants to solve everything, not with the voice that judges, but with the part of you that knows, that part you sometimes hear in moments of silence, when the world goes quiet. First question, who was I today? Not what you did, not what others saw. Who were you? Were you you? Or were you the version that doesn't shock, the version that agrees, the version that made itself smaller to fit? If the answer is honest, it will hurt. And that's okay. Honest pain is the first bridge back. Second question, what am I carrying that isn't mine? That guilt that doesn't belong to you, that expectation you never questioned, that belief that you need to be more, do more, be worth more, that came from outside and you wore as if it were yours. You carry so much that never belonged to you, and the weight is crushing you, not because life is heavy, but because you are carrying what was never yours to carry, your parents' unspoken disappointments, your culture's unexamined rules, your partner's unhealed wounds that you absorbed as your responsibility. The voice that says you are not doing enough. Whose voice is that really? Is it yours? Or did it move in so long ago that you forgot it wasn't always there? You walk through your days bearing loads that were handed to you by people who were themselves overloaded, who were themselves running, who were themselves hiding. They didn't mean to pass it on, but unexamined pain always finds a way to travel forward, and you received it, like a package left at your door. You didn't order it. You didn't want it, but you signed for it because you thought that's what good people do. That's what loving people do. They carry, they hold, they absorb. But there is a difference between carrying someone in your heart and carrying their pain on your back. One is love, the other is self-abandonment dressed as loyalty. What would happen if you set it down, just for tonight, not forever, just for now, just to feel what your body feels like without that particular weight? Just to remember what your breath feels like when it's only yours. Third question, what can I release before I sleep? Not everything, not all at once, but one thing, one small thing, one belief, one fear, one story you've been repeating about yourself, one adaptation that no longer serves you, one thing per night, and nights add up, and one day you notice you are lighter, that you sleep deeper, that you wake without that weight on your chest. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours. And when you do this, something begins to shift. The things that once seemed enormous begin to dissolve. Not because the world changed, because you changed your relationship with it. Your body responds, your sleep changes. It is not the sleep of someone who collapses from exhaustion. It is the sleep of someone who allows themselves to rest. of someone who trusts that the night will not use their own mind against them. Your choices change, not because you force them, because when you remove what isn't yours, what remains is truth. And truth chooses with clarity. It doesn't choose from fear. It doesn't choose to please. It chooses because choosing is what truth does. Your relationships change. Some drift away, and that hurts. But it hurts less than continuing to pretend you belong somewhere your soul doesn't live. Others draw closer, and you realize you were so busy adapting that you never noticed who already saw you whole. Everything changes, not because you forced the change. Everything changes because you finally stopped running from what was unmoving inside you. It is as if an agitated surface was slowly growing still, and beneath the agitation, down below, where the silence is deep and ancient, something was waiting. Something that never abandoned you, even when you abandoned yourself. Your essence, that which you were before you learned to fear yourself, that which you knew before you forgot, that which your childhood recognized and life tried to erase. And the beauty of it is that it never left. You don't need to build it. You don't need to conquer it. You need only to stop hiding from it. The person you are searching for is searching for you too. Deepak Chopra says that healing is not something you will find. It is something that will emerge when you stop turning away from yourself. And this is the part that changes everything. Not learning something new, remembering something ancient. You see, the mind before sleep is different from the mind during the day. During the day, you are defended, armored. You have your routines, your personas, your ways of getting through. You know how to shape your face so that no one asks if you're okay. You know which words to say and which to swallow. You are efficient at being the version that survives. But before sleep, something loosens, the armor slips, the performance ends. And for a few minutes, you are the closest to yourself you will be all day. That is why those minutes matter more than any other. Not because they are magical, but because they are honest. And what you plant in that honest soil grows differently than what you plant in the defensive soil of your waking hours. It grows roots. It grows deep. It grows in the direction of truth rather than survival. So when you ask yourself those 3 questions before sleep, you are not just reflecting. You are planting. You are choosing what grows in the dark. You are deciding, with the most vulnerable and honest part of yourself, what deserves to take root in your life. And night by night, something extraordinary begins to happen. The questions start to follow you into the day. Not as nagging voices, as quiet companions. You catch yourself in a conversation, about to agree with something you don't believe, and you hear it. Who was I today? And you pause, and you choose differently. Not because someone told you to, because the question has become a part of you. You feel the old weight creeping back onto your shoulders, the familiar guilt, the familiar expectation, and you hear it. What am I carrying that isn't mine? And you recognize it, and you set it down, not with drama, not with announcement, quietly. The way you set down a bag you didn't realize you were still holding. You lie down at night, and instead of the cascade of anxieties, you hear it. What can I release before I sleep? And something leaves. Not everything, but enough. Enough that the morning feels different. Enough that your eyes open, and for a moment before the world rushes in, you feel you. Not the performing you, not the adapting you, the real one. This is not a small thing. This is the rebuilding of a life from the inside. Not from the outside in, from the inside out. Not changing circumstances, changing the foundation, the ground you stand on. The ground that was always there but that you were told wasn't solid enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't safe enough to stand on. But it is. Your ground is solid. It was always solid. The shaking you felt was not the ground moving. It was you standing on someone else's ground and wondering why you felt unsteady. Stand on yours. Feel it. It doesn't shift. It doesn't ask you to be anyone. It just holds you. the way the earth holds a tree, without condition, without expectation, just holds. And standing there, on your own ground, in your own truth, you don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to prove to be seen. You don't need to control to feel safe. The truth is alive now, not the truth someone told you, the truth you always knew and feared, the truth that lives in the space between what you show and what you hide. And when you begin to live from that place, not perfect, not resolved, but honest, something strange happens. Life begins to find you. Opportunities don't come from forcing, they come from aligning. The right people don't come from pleasing, they come from being. Paths don't open from pushing, they open when you stop resisting what you already are. You don't need to transform into someone else. You need to stop being who you are not. And that is what changes everything. Not a technique, not a habit, not a formula, it is a return. A return to the house you never stopped being. Now, before you go, I want to ask you something, not as someone asking for a like, as someone inviting you to close a cycle. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the warmth. Feel the beating. That is you. That is real. That is truer than any story anyone ever told about you. Now breathe in deeply, and as you release the breath, release one thing with it. One thing that isn't yours. A worry that doesn't belong to you. A guilt that was never yours to carry. A fear that moved in from outside and you wore as your own. Release it. And before you sleep tonight, ask the 3 questions. Who was I today? What am I carrying that isn't mine? What can I release before I sleep? You don't need to answer with perfection. You need to answer with honesty. The honesty of someone who is tired of running. And if something in you moved while hearing this, write in the comments, I choose to return, not for me, for you, as a silent commitment to yourself, as a marker on the path back. Leave a like. That helps this message reach someone who is lying in bed right now, staring at the ceiling, not knowing why they can't sleep. Someone who is carrying what isn't theirs. Someone who needs to hear that the way back begins with one honest question before sleep. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Because here, every video is a return to what is most true inside you. Here there is no formula. Here there is presence. And life changes. Not when you find something new, when you finally find something ancient, something that was always there, waiting, you, whole, now sleep. But before you do, ask and listen, because the answer, it has always been there.